welcome to this video. Thank you for joining us. Today we'll be talking about a very important spiritual practice to help us on our journey to self-knowledge and true inner transformation. The beautiful thing about the Gnostic studies is that in addition to theoretical knowledge about the depths of the universe and the mysteries that lie within us, there are also hundreds of practices that allow us to experiment for ourselves these great truths. Today we'll be talking about a practice called self-observation. Now before we continue, we must understand the dual nature that exists within us. On one hand, we have something called our essence, which is the divine spark that constitutes the spiritual life within us. It is our truest nature, and it is present within all living beings. On the other hand, there is something within the Gnostic studies that we call the psychological aggregate, or more commonly known as the ego, that manifests itself through our reactions of anger, of greed, of lust, of jealousy, of criticism, etc. Our essence manifests itself through true love, inspiration, contemplation, humility, etc. The ego manifests itself in ways that cause suffering in our life and those around us. Once we understand that all of these forces live within ourselves, then we are able to think about self-observation. Now, before we continue to talk more about self-observation, let's first talk about observation. Most of us think that because we can see, we are observing, but that is not necessarily the case. For example, when we go to our favorite neighborhood coffee shop, we walk in the door, we place our order, we wait for our beverage to be made, and once we have received it, we leave. A few moments later, if someone were to ask us who was in the coffee shop, what color shirt were they wearing, and what pictures were hanging on the wall, would we be able to answer those questions? Likely not. And this shows us that although we were seeing what was going on in the coffee shop, we were not observing. Observation has everything to do with living in the moment, being present. Most of our life we spend dreaming about the past or projecting about the future, and very rarely are we living in the present moment. So once we have learned to live in the moment and observe that around us, we will begin to perceive the world that surrounds us. And once we begin to perceive the world that is around us, we can then take one step further and begin to perceive the world that is within us. And we can do that through the practice of self-observation. In order to self-observe, we must understand that the ego and the essence manifests itself within us. The purpose of self-observation is to understand all that lives within inside of us. Many times we think that we are great, that we are good friends, that we are happy for others when they succeed, that we love to help others. But really, on the inside, much more is going on. For example, if we are walking down the street one day and suddenly someone turns around and spills their beverage on us, our physical reaction is, oh, it's okay, don't worry about it. But internally, what are we thinking? What are we feeling? What reactions are manifesting themselves inside of us? Or for example, when our boss comes into our office and tells us that we did not get the promotion that we wanted, but that our coworker did, externally we smile and we say, thank you so much, I appreciate the opportunity. But on the inside, what is going on? A lot more is clearly going on. Just as there exists a physical country that we live in, there is also something called a psychological country that lives within us. The practice of self-observation has the goal of discovering all that lives within inside of us. Just as there are beautiful neighborhoods with wonderful people and lots of sunshine and flowers externally, there are also beautiful spaces and forces within us. But in our country, we also see neighborhoods and alleyways with thieves and murderers and horrific realities, and that too lives within ourselves. Without self-observation, it is impossible to truly know who we are. And in truly knowing who we are only then able to make the choices that we need to make to transform ourselves from the inside out. Self-observation is something that we can practice from moment to moment, day to day, when we are awake. We stop and ask ourselves in any given moment, what am I thinking? What am I feeling? What is driving me to act this way? Through these questions, we will slowly open the door to self-discovery. Now, as we learn to self-observe, sincerity is very important. It is very important for us to be honest with ourselves. What we will discover, we will not like, and that is the truth. But only by discovering it can we make the choice to transform ourselves. So we hope that as our days continue, as our spiritual work continues, our ability to self-observe becomes greater and greater. So instead of remembering to self-observe for one moment and forgetting the next, we can live in a constant state of self-observation. We hope that this practice serves you all in your spiritual work, and you see the fruits of this practice in the transformation of your life.